Good morning. This morning we are going to work with the gradient tool. This is another way of applying color in Illustrator. It's been around for a long time and there's been few changes, but not a tremendous amount. But the first thing that we're going to do is to work with applying a gradient to an object, and then we're going to create an elliptical gradient. We're going to modify the colors in a gradient, and then we're going to apply a gradient across multiple objects and also change direction, gradient direction, radius, or origin. So to get started, I'm going to get rid of a few of these pages so I have a little bit more room. And hopefully you're having a good day today. No bad weather, although it looked like to me last night you had quite a thunder and lightning storm in the area. All right, so to begin with, we're going to set up a new document. Just use the defaults under the letter document. Bring this over here and create. And then in this particular document, I think I'm going to go to set it up for painting. And that will give me a little bit more access to the tools that I need for this particular project. Close these out. Pull this out just a little bit so we get a little bit more room, I hope. And there we go. We're going to try to work with this size. All right, to apply a gradient to an object, we're going to select an object and do one of the following. Since we don't have an object, I'm going to just create one here. And it's the selection tool. Make sure that it's selected. And we're going to go to apply the last used gradient, and since I've not used a gradient in a while, I'm not exactly sure which one will come up, but we're going to click the gradient box in the tools panel or the gradient fill box in the gradient panel. Alright, so this is the gradient panel and this is the gradient fill box or the gradient tool. So you can apply it either of these two ways. Let's go up to the panel and we're going to click on the gradient box, and you'll see that that automatically applies the gradient to a selected object. I'm going to go back, and this time I'm going to go to the gradient tool in the gradient G in the toolbox, select that, and that should also apply that, we're going to hope. Alright, the only way you're going to apply it is either here or here, the bottom of the gradient. At the bottom of the toolbox, you'll see between the fill and the stroke, there's also a little gradient box that will do that. The only thing that you're going to be able to do with the tool, unless you've got a gradient in there, is to change the direction of the gradient. And that's again with the tool. Alright, to apply a preset or previously saved gradient, choose a gradient from the gradient menu in the gradient panel or click a gradient swatch in the swatches panel. So let's go up to the drop down on this little control bar and see if we have any preset gradients. There's a fading sky, an orange yellow, and then of course the white black one that we have applied. So let's click here and that will apply the orange yellow here. And I'm not exactly sure what that just is, a radial gradient with a spotlight in the center. The other way that you can do that, although I don't have my swatches panel present, is you can go up to Window and bring up Swatches. And let's make these a little bit smaller there. And it doesn't look like I have any gradients in my swatches panel. So what you would do if you wanted to get a new color swatch or a new gradient swatch is you click on the options, and I'm going to move this over a little bit so you can see it. You open your swatches panel, click on the options, and then we're going to go down here to open swatch library, and you'll see that there's a library of gradients, a ton of gradients. There's gems and jewels, fruits and vegetables, foliage, simple radial, skin tones. Let's try skin tones. And there you go. There's a variety of different gradients that are pre-built using different skin tones. And if you want to apply only gradients in the swatches panel, which is what we just had up, we're going to click on the Show Swatch Kinds button and choose Show Gradient Swatches. So here's the swatches panel. And we're going to go here. And I don't see the to display only gradients, show the Show Swatch Kinds button on the swatches panel. I may be missing something here. I wonder if they have any more here. Okay, show gradient swatches. And there you go. Now to create an elliptical gradient, we can create linear, radial, or elliptical gradients. When you change the aspect ratio for any radial gradient, it becomes an elliptical gradient for which you can also change the angle and make it tilt. So in the gradient panel, we're going to choose radial from the type menu. So we're going to go up here to the radial panel. And I'm going to double click on that to see if I can find where that next step is. Alright guys, now we're here in creating an elliptical gradient. In the gradient panel we're going to choose radial from the type menu. So the first thing that you need to do is go to the gradient menu, click on that, and then you'll see under type there's a drop down selection that you can choose either radial or linear, and we are going to click on radial. And then when you choose radial, that allows you to choose either the angle and the aspect, and you can also change the colors if you choose to do that. So we are going to specify an aspect ratio value other than 100%. I'll go to 40%, and you can see the change. In fact, I may get a different gradient here just so we can see it a little bit more. Okay, we're going to go to the aspect. First, change it to radial, and then you can change the aspect. You can type it in, or you can choose from the drop down. And then to tilt the ellipse, specify an angle value other than 0. And there you go. Alright, I'm going to upload this, and I will be back in a moment to start on modifying the colors in a gradient.